You gots to chill. I am definitely chilling more now that I have Nick that came in and answered the weird bat signal to come in and
you shined the light.
I really did. Everyone will talk like, hey, dude, can I ever get on the podcast and whatever? And I'm like, this isn't like a real radio station. You can do whatever. I was like, dude, if you want to get on, you're fine. And then when I'm in need of like a co-host that day, I'll put it out and, crickets or, yeah, I would if I was closer or this and this and that. So it makes it difficult. So thank you for coming in. And Kai, I appreciate you popping in.
No problem.
You never really ask. You just kind of, you'll hang out and like pop out of the bathroom and run up and grab a mic. Also cool.
That's a good habit.
It really is. And he contributed more last night than Miss Fancy Pants. Matt and I were joking about it. We were like,
yeah, she was nothing but giggles yesterday.
Yeah, which, dude, all we need to do is get a soundtrack and just play her like a wicked witch of like giggling or whatever. But she is zany, and I will give her credit for like, 5 or 6 shows that will be, the war in North Korea, it's crazy, and, that all this could be going on. And when did you get pubic hair? And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Actually, I got a funny story about that. And then we'll kind of, wiggle and.
Well, at least she broke the tension of North Korea a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, pubic hair and North Korea have nothing to do with each other for as far as I know. So.
No, absolutely not. And yeah, it's not a conventional segue by any stretch of the imagination. But she is a wacky, zany creature. Doesn't hear everything you say all the time, nor does she respond properly, 3/4 of the time. But it does make it entertaining.
Is she there?
Ironically, yes. And she's got multiple personality things that she'll like cutesy girl, like, lollipop, beep, beep, dee, dee, dee. And then if you call her on something, she'll go like deadpan face. Well, look, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, what personality is that? When you quit playing and whatever, your voice gets really deep. And then I said it in front of her sister one day, and her sister was like, oh my God, he like knows you. And I'm like, well, I kind of should. You spend like 7 hours a day here.
Well, it almost sounds like the persona where she's giggling is like a kind of like an act, right? And then you catch her on something and she like.
Yeah, but how can you have the act going for like 10 hours out of the day and you only dip into the like deep weird voice like 3 times?
Maybe you like that persona better than your own self.
Yeah, no, it could be. Could be early onset multiple personality disorder.
That'd be scary.
Yeah. Dude, she seems to be okay with anything. Dude, nothing bothers that chick. She's just, wee. She is one of the most interesting, like, young people I've met in life. And she came in here, like, the day she turned 18, because they would always pop in, and I was like, IDs? No, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, you got to have ID. I don't care what you say, beat it. Yeah. You guys seem friendly enough, but in order to be in the store, you got to be 18. So then I'm 18, and then has never left.
That's a good, like, requirement for pretty much everything in life. You got to be 18 to enter these doors.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
no matter what I'm doing in here. Just please.
You are correct. I've made many jokes like, hey, it's your birthday. Cool, happy birthday. So, yeah, this is a good trick. I don't know. You're old enough to vote. It's a lot like the.
You can kind of sway the political direction of the country now. So therefore, I can talk about balls in front of you.
That is correct. Yeah, why wouldn't I? Yeah. I would be doing a disservice to the country if I didn't, be the one to introduce you to ball talk. Yeah, no, random. So, hey, this is the Jake Podcast, jakepodcast.com, Bachelor Pad Radio, YouTube channel, Podbean. Kind of forgot that with EPMD when they got me on the way in. But, yeah, so, I don't know, dude, if we would have mic'd up our earlier conversations.
Oh, my gosh.
Which is great content. It's just, everybody stop.
Praying mantises.
And the praying mantis, yeah. I kind of, yeah. I don't know what to do about that girl though.
You keep going until the praying mantis dies. Bugs don't live that long.
No, they don't. But the praying mantis, like, after copulation, rips the dude's head off or whatever.
They kill after mating. They just kill you.
Yeah, they kill the dude. Which
eat your head.
So you have to kill her first then. Or at least do something. Metaphorically, of course. Thing. I'm not advocating you murder someone, but you have to kill the relationship before she chops your head off, or the head of something off.
Yeah, and I try not to, decapitate or do whatever. I just don't know what to do. I've also realized that I can't pre-plan dates for shit.
You can't.
I can't
say like we're going here. You just have to be spontaneous.
Dude, it has to be like every day I would like to have a female form around me, right? So it kind of goes against the whole making plans of whatever. But I made plans with this chick on Friday night, and it was a crazy Friday night. And I was like, Sunday, and she had just had the like, dude, why don't we hang out? Like, we can make this work and do whatever after I kind of cut it off after, or like a week or two ago. And I went, no, blah, blah, blah. And she basically went, okay. I'll deal with your dogs, or I'll deal with this. And I went, cool. And I was like, how about Sunday? She was like, well, what's wrong with tomorrow? I'm going to be epically hungover tomorrow, and I've got to get up and go to work and whatever. So I'm not going to be in a really jovial mood and whatever. And we are kind of just getting back. So makeup sex should, I should be properly hydrated. Right.
Chicks kind of like those curveballs, though. They kind of get attracted to when a guy's like, no, we're not going with your plan. You ever watch Hitch?
Dude, Hitch is my life. Seriously, I've had to explain to people, like, I was Mr. Lover, lollipops and sunbeams and life is great, until I got hitched by a chick when I was younger, and I was him. I was standing in the rain like a dum-dum, dude, all that happened to me. But the good thing was I'm my powers of observation and, ability to total recall stuff, I looked at it and I hit pause and I put myself in the opposite. So when you do this and do that and you pull back and whatever, and that makes you want, and I've actually been able to, using part hitch logic and part what my like high school, college girlfriend ex taught me about manipulation and, do just everything.
Of course.
That I've been able to, if a person's situation was right and they wanted to get that person back, and even though they were broken up, but then they're still using you as an emotional crutch person, how to get them back by the, and dude, I've worked it out perfectly, epically. The only problem is that person wants it to be like organic and super like, oh, it's, I shouldn't have to play games. They go back to their own self and boom, they get the hatchet again.
You want those people back though? Or do you just want, you just want another thing?
I just want to use them as an experiment and just to go, I've told you I was right. Like, I know stuff. Don't question me. When I say something, just go, he seems to know stuff. So sometimes something that completely baffles them and they don't know how to, it completely behooves them, the whole scenario. There's no way. And I've told her I love her 38 times, and I was like, yeah, that's not going to work. That's going to do worse, more harm than good.
Oh, yeah. In my findings, my research, my studies, I seem to be more attracted to you not loving them.
Yes, and it goes.
I mean, to a certain degree, right? Like, eventually, if they want something super long term, they want to marry you. They obviously want you to love them, right? But like, they don't want you to be that puppy dog following them around.
For sure. And then some do, right? There's everyone, and I explained this to a female a couple days ago, that in every relationship, somebody has the upper hand and somebody loves the other person more, somebody's into the other person more. It is never, I won't never say always and never, but there very rarely is there a complete even keel of a relationship in whatever way you look at it.
Except be a unicorn, right? And most of us are just horses. We don't got horns.
That's right.
You get a horse and a donkey, and then you're either the horse or the donkey. No one's the unicorn.
Yeah, no, it's impossible. Sometimes it happens for a very short period of time to where everything's perfect. Like, you're like, oh, I want to see you, and oh my God, I was just gonna call you and tell you I wanted to see you, and everything's perfect. And then
but that's not even real half the time. That's just the reality lying to the subconscious and saying, hey, this is so cool, and you're just caught up in this is so cool. You don't really like. You never. That's why, like, my buddy got into a relationship, and I mean, this happens to me all the time, where it's like 6 months go by, where you thought this person made you super happy, you sober up from that relationship, and you're like, this isn't happiness. This isn't even what I want. I'm not even myself anymore. And what you thought was the unicorn wasn't.
Of course, and which 10 out of 10 times that. Because you go through, your brain produces certain chemicals and whatever, they call it the love chemical and this and that and, oxytocin. And you go through this whole process and it's great. And, you can break it down into any level of, years or whatever. The first year, you go into the second year, it's like terrible twos with kids, right? Your relationship is terrible twos because you're over it. You get it, like, hey, this is my life and whatever. And you've had sex 2 times a day or 3 times a day for 365 days. Even that, not to use an old.
It's like a car.
Yeah.
It's awesome the first year you have it. Then you start putting tens of thousands of miles on it, and eventually you need a new car.
That's right. And people have argued the love quotient, and I'm like, no, dude, you had a dog, right? And it was your family dog, and you love that dog, or it was your first dog, and it was your homie, and your dog passes, right? And dude, if you ever had to go take a dog and get it put down, dude, it breaks your heart. I've thought, like, dude, I'm never gonna get another dog again. I'll never love another creature the way because it's a weird thing, right? Yeah. You have to take care of the animal. There's dependency. There's everything. And then when it does, you get another dog, and you're like, it's cool. It's a cool dog. Eventually, you start doing the same stuff with that dog. The dog does other weird stuff. The dog's more, like affectionate than your old dog was, or this dog plays more and, fucks with you, whatever it is. And you do all this stuff, and then you end up loving that dog. Dude, love is a renewable resource.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter who anyone who believes in soulmate and this and that, no, that's a weird thought process in your skull.
It's comforting to think that there's someone made specifically for you, but I mean, it's all just chemical reactions in the brain.
It really is.
It happens.
It's eating chocolate. You can eat chocolate and be right there in the same wheelhouse.
Well, sometimes it happens even when you're in a relationship, and not all humans are prone to monogamy itself, and sometimes, like, that's how you realize you're not even with the right person, is you fall in love with someone else while you're dating someone else, and you realize this is all just in here.
Yeah.
All up in the noggin.
Once I make the decision, I'm extremely monogamous. Nobody would ever guess from listening to half of the stuff I do or whatever. But I also believe when I'm single, I'm extremely single. When I'm in a relationship, I'm a lazy infielder at best. Mm-hmm. Dude, I've got everything I need in my house. I really don't need to leave. They deliver groceries now. Like, I could become a shut-in as long as I had my lady, as long as my sex was residing in the same house.
Right.
Dude, I'm done for. I'm so set. Like, I never need to leave.
It's just like I don't know. I always get into it with really high hopes, good intentions.
See,
I don't want to cheat. I'm not a cheater, but I think about it, right? It's like, wouldn't this be so much more fun if I was here doing that with that person instead of sitting here miserable?
Yeah, no, the minute I'm not happy, and that's what another thing, I get the whole, you didn't try and make it work. Dude, we dated for like 3 years. I was miserable for a year and a half. Believe me, I tried.
Hats off to you for getting that far in it, though. I can figure that out within like 3 months if it's like...
Yeah, I really like sex, and sex is a lot like the true serum that they give you, just in the opposite. So post-orgasm, dude, I'm cool. I'll go antiquing. I'll do all kinds of stuff. And yes, I might require a touch-up, an extra serving later because I really don't like antiquing.
Snack.
Yeah, like, as long as I'm doled that out, like, I'm a lot like a mental patient. As long as you keep me on my meds, and my meds being, like, good sex. Sex to me is a lot like pizza. Granted, some is better than others and whatever. Not every...
It's a drug.
Yeah, So that is the thing. I stayed in a 6-year relationship. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. We had intellectual conversation, and the sex was good, right? It took a long time. She didn't like to do this and this and this. And then after a while, Pandora's box was open and whatever, and it was good and it was comfortable and everything was cool. But dude, you just yelled at me about everything. My sock wasn't in the hamper or this. And granted, I wasn't a perfect dude, right? I'm a guy. But I didn't cheat. I didn't go do, it's like when you get harped on by your parents about stuff. And I'm like, dude, are you really coming down on me this hard? Like, dude, Jim stole his parents' car. Fred burned down his grandpa's house, like, with fireworks. Dude, seriously, I just, I'm getting C's, right? Yeah. Like, I need to study more.
Well, how do you make it that, like, I've never even committed to, like, a sandwich for 6 years. How do you commit to a human being for that long? How did you do it?
Number one, she was extremely attractive, right? So I'm just like, oh. And I've always, look at me. I'm not an extremely handsome dude, right? I've dated out of my league where I've had people pull me aside and go, whoa, hey, be like, dude, I don't take this at all in the wrong way. But I get it. Well, and especially at the time I was lifting a lot and whatever. So I was always in good physical shape and bigger than most dudes.
It helps.
So that is a thing. So obviously whatever chick kind of dug that and whatever. I'm no goddamn male model by any means. So, the fact that they were like, dude, how did you? And I was like, I know, right? And I was like, I talk a lot, right? So when I'm not using my penis, I'm funny, right? I tell stories and jokes. And, if we go do stuff, I make everything fun because I'm like a grown-up child. So, yeah, I don't like to not have a good time. So even when I'm not having a good time, I do weird stuff and I try and make the most of it, right? And you've been in here. I talk a lot. I have jokes. I do all this. Just imagine being a female and going.
To walk away from you, man. You really entice me, man.
Magnetism, bro. But and it does work. It does work well. Like if you look at Playboy, right? Well, Hugh Hefner died a week or so ago. When you read Playboy and you read the centerfold and they, any poll that females, when they talk about the top 10 things they like, sense of humor, communication, and whatever, right?
Yeah.
So they all put it way high on the list, like either in like 1 to 3. Looks generally fall in there also. So if I'm a communicator, I'm like a chick, dude. You never have to ask me what's wrong. Right? We'll talk about it. I also don't get too emotional. So we can talk about what's going on. We can communicate. I'm also funny, right? I built a sense of humor. Dude, I used to watch like Revenge of the Nerd movies. Because, dude, I would fire engine red hair, right? Red hair, freckled and whatever. Wasn't winning a beauty contest by any means. But every movie I saw, and then I saw that the football player jocks, right? So I went, I can become one of those. And I happen to like football, right? So I can become one of those, which will put me in a higher percentile to have a girlfriend, right?
Because you engineered yourself.
I really did
into the regime.
Yeah, no, dude, that's the whole reason. Seriously, if it stopped, like if my business didn't work anymore, dude, take me out and put me out of my misery. Like take me out on a farm, shoot me. Seriously, if it's not about my penis, there's not you take that away, dude. I have no reason for living.
I've said that many times. I don't know if I'd stick to it. I just really wish that if something happened, I just didn't wake up the next day. I don't want to kill myself, but I want someone to inject me with something while I'm sleeping, and then I just go.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a penis anymore. So.
I think I've made pacts. I don't know if my friends really understand it, but yeah, if that happens, we've made a pact
to kill the other person.
Dude, we're gonna go up and go hiking or whatever. I just won't come back.
What is it?
I'm gonna give it one last try.
What was that old book, the movie where it was Lenny and is it not
Lenny and his unusable penis? I don't know.
Yeah, Lenny and his unusable penis.
This is a good movie.
It's that old movie on the farm, and then he is that savant type of brother, and he ends up killing a girl, and so he takes her and he takes the brother, tells him to look over the mountains, and he has no idea what's going on, and then he shoots him in the back of the head or does something like that. He dies not knowing he's being killed. That's how I want to go.
Yeah. Okay.
No one gets that reference here.
I have not seen that movie.
It's like it's like something that they made you read in middle school or high school. It's like To Kill a Mockingbird type of stuff. Maybe it is To Kill a Mockingbird. All those books are just a blur.
Just that they've all blended in. Thank you, public school system.
Yeah, I can't if you could say a bunch of books like the Emmett Till stuff. I don't know which one is which, but I know that I read them all.
For sure, the information's in there. It just happens to be like a alphabet soup of.
I was just half asleep during half of it anyways because I didn't fit into the school system, so those books are just like a weird portion of whatever part of my brain contains books.
Yeah.
So that's
I remember some of the books from grade school. Only 2 of them, The Giver and To Kill a Mockingbird.
What was The Giver about?
It was like a weird kind of utopia where everybody has the exact same mindset and they do exactly the same thing. But every once in a while, there'll be like a kid who thinks outside the box, and they get this. They get to be the giver. That's the person who gets to learn all about human history and all the mistakes that we made before becoming this whole robotic community.
That sounds crazy. I don't think I read that.
Yeah, it's not at all schools. My school was weird.
Huh. No, it sounds like multiple movies. Like
they made a actual movie for a few years back,
which kind of sounds like the the Jennifer Lawrence series and whatever with whatever that thing is.
The Hunger Games.
The Hunger Games in a weird way. Like there's
it is comparative.
It is comparative in a like in your cliff noted, book report that just with a couple different extra things put in.
Right, there's like a utopian controlled government society thing going on.
And nobody knows whatever and everyone's so
everybody's brainwashed.
Yeah.
They can't think outside the box because they haven't been able to.
And even that Maze movie where everyone was in there and they didn't know how and they had to Yeah. That was weird. I didn't think I'd like that movie, but it did things. It was
a common recurring theme, right? That we just have this kind of weird, like renegade part of our brains that we just have to like say, hey, don't do this, and we put it in books, and so it's like so history doesn't repeat itself, but even though it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a thing. I mean, and even in your own personal reality, and it's funny because I was talking to my lady friend who was in here, and we're talking and whatever, and this, and this, and she has her own personal set of reality that she thinks or she hopes and believes that there's this magic way of whatever. And I went, no. I go, I don't base life on hoping and thinking and believing. You can hope in one hand and shit in the other and see which one fills up faster. Right. I talked to you about swearing, and I've sworn like 38 times today, but it just kind of it's leading itself to that thing.
I'm just letting you be the Trojan horse.
Yeah,
of the old shit
and shit, damn, piss.
Yeah.
But when we were talking about it, I was like, no, I was like, it's scientific. I was like, the one common denominator that all of us have is that psychology was not taught in school in a manner for personal psych or introspective psych. But yet you listen to everyone's problems in life. It's relationship based. It's interpersonal communication based. It's all of these things. And I said, you could put 55, 60 people in this room, and there will be 4 people that understand introspective psych, that have themselves under control to a point. Not a perfect human being,
right,
but that you're not going to ruin a relationship because of your behavior, or understand when bad behavior is coming your way and when to cut it loose. And, it's been a field of study that I've looked into for a long time. And I forget where I read, I can spend my whole life, studying the moon and the stars and, the Milky Way and galaxies. But if I don't learn myself, what were the years on this planet for?
Oh, yeah.
So I began to look inside of me, because regular psych will tell you why he does what he does. And when your behavior is this, I can do all of that. But what about me?
It's just so we can make sense and understand and try to grasp things, right? We just put equations next to everything. We put variables and symbols next to things, asterisks next to things, and we like to say this is why this happens, but we never really start to look deep into our own minds and think, oh, why do I do this? I mean, even psychologists or therapists have their own problems that sometimes they don't even deal with. They're kind of just good listeners.
Exactly. And that's all you do is you go and you listen. They ask you, well, why do you feel this way? Mm-hmm. Now, why do you think you feel this way? Which the self-help side of it is the new Amazon, right? Yeah. It is Amazon. It is the internet in therapy, because if you study, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, all the, the most influential people on that side of it, you're studying what's going on with you and how you react and, your ego and id and all of this. And you begin to pull through all of that. You understand yourself. And if you use yourself as a constant construct of this is my behavior, this is when I'm doing this, why did I choose to do this? Dude, it makes it so difficult I know why I do everything. I also know why I built my little life the way that it is. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to go out with trying to change the world, right? Seems like a lot of work, a lot of effort. Nobody seems to agree with anybody. The one thing I can control is my world, my existence, my relationships. I can also compartmentalize and factor my relationships down into I'm getting 33% of what I need.
Yeah.
But I'm also not getting all the shenanigans and all the trouble and everything that goes along with it. So when I talk to someone, like I was speaking to her earlier, dude, she's awesome, cool chick. Dude, looks wonderful. But any person I get into, I don't want to get the amount of teaching and training and things that you would have to do to get them to be a functional human being to where they understood themselves. They believe they understand themselves. They don't understand themselves.
Well, I mean, a lot of I think a lot of those people seem to be kind of victims of circumstance, right? They kind of seem to think the world's happening to them. They don't really understand that, their own thoughts form their own reality. They don't really get that part of the power of their own consciousness. They don't think that, anything that they think about or do or residually do compounding over time is exactly where they are now. They just think that they're just another variable, and then the world's happening to them. They don't really take the time to learn themselves, learn what they're doing, how it's affecting themselves, and how it's affecting the world around them.
And once you make a bad decision, I made this decision. What made me make that decision? I did this. You begin, and it's easier for me because observational science is my pet project, right? So, and it helps because I remember everything, right? I remember, do you see that dude that I went, look, that's right. I was like, you got your ID on you? I was like 94 or 95, right? Boom, boom, boom. And he was like, yeah, 94. And I was like, it's crazy, dude. I can't. Saw that dude like a month ago. He didn't buy anything, but I carded him when he came in with somebody else. And he was like, dude, I've never bought anything or whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's random. I don't know, but I knew you were 94 or 95, blah, 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 blah. It's stupid the way my mind works. So just imagine taking that and funneling it into things that you care about, and especially, not to seem too self-centered, but to care about me more than just about everybody else, because if I don't get myself under control and figure myself out, but yeah, it's tricky. But you had asked a question earlier about the mythical article that I was talking about.
No. This is something that I'm gonna have to really study,
and I'm gonna try and work my memory banks, because I can tell the story of what had happened. And it's funny because as soon as you made up the I'm passionate, I'm a very passionate man, and I may be weird, but I like to kiss and make out with chicks when I'm doing whatever, and then I threw out hooker sex versus whatever.
Yeah.
So, which I said I've had both of, right? I prefer the kissy and makey out time too, it's like the Taco Bell of sex, right? Nobody wants that. Right. You only do that because there's no good text. Yeah, I don't have time to sit down in a restaurant, so it's got to be done. So this article was in Maxim magazine, and I used to use Maxim. Granted, there's a ton of great, like askmen.com. There's a couple other ones like Because We're Guys and whatever, dude, which I take their stuff and I put it on the Bachelor Pad, Facebook page all the time, because dude, they're doing God's work. They're good. There's a lot of scantily clad women and a bunch of male driven stories. So with this, with this article, and it was weird because I had just gone through like a very, I won't say bad breakup, but it was long and it extended, and I really wanted out of it. So as we went through this whole, breakup thing, so I'm reading this Maxim magazine on how to turn your chick friend into a booty call.
Right.
Or your chick friend into a girlfriend, right? It had like, subtext underneath
Simple
it.
Enough.
Simple
enough. Idea.
So I read this, and they said there's some body language in there, and there's some other stuff. But the way the article began to read was, if you've got a chick friend, right, you're already cool that you could call her and be like, hey, let's go out and do something or whatever. And in a perfect scenario, you haven't been to her new house or a new apartment, right? Mm-hmm. So bringing a gift, right? Because on a normal time when you'd come see her, you wouldn't bring a gift. A bottle of wine always seems to work, right? Mm-hmm. Chicks like wine.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I had reached out and, hey, I hadn't talked to her all that much or hung out, all that much because I was in a pretty long relationship, didn't have a lot of time. So, we talked and, we should definitely hang out one of these days. Yeah, for sure. And that's how I left it, like maybe a couple weeks prior. So I'm reading this article. So the one day I went, hey, what are you doing? Pick somewhere close to her house, right? Make sure home field advantage and whatever. But that's cool. You moved into your new place. I haven't seen your place or whatever. You know what? Let's meet there and then we'll go out, right? So you're basically crossing the threshold, which you have a higher probability of possibly, if you leave your car and take one car, or you walk from there, that you have to go back to that place.
Right.
Don't meet up at some place. It was a go grab her and then go. So that was like rule number one. Mm-hmm. So she did have a new house, and we were going somewhere local and close. So I went, okay, cool. I was like, you know what? I haven't seen your place or whatever. How about I meet over your house and whatever? And if she says okay, she's allowing you into her homestead, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a good thing. And you can be very flattery and whatever, and it's something she's proud of. So I go to her house, I bring her a bottle of wine. She ends up being a little bit more of a wine connoisseur than me by any long shot, right?
Did you get her good stuff, or did you get her just?
Well, my only knowledge, right? I know white wines. Red wines never taste good to me.
Right.
They've given me a bad taste in my mouth from the time I was young. So what I did is I brought over a Riesling or a Peas Porter. Or I think I brought both. One Riesling, one Peas Porter. And one was Relax Riesling, which to me is the most awesome wine. And I figure if I'm going to be drinking some of this, if it turns into me hanging out and drinking some of it, I'm not going to be making weird faces and totally not digging the process.
Right.
So, and she was like, Riesling or whatever. Yeah, I kind of use it as dessert wines. You know, white wines and Rieslings play good with desserts and whatever and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, balls, she knows a lot of wine. I was like, dude, I guess we never really got that deep into our,
You didn't know the wine stuff yet. You didn't know that about her.
But it was awesome because it brings up a built-in conversation.
Right.
Because now she's informing me a little bit more about wines. I'm interested and whatever, right?
You have a question to ask her now, and that's a good thing.
By bringing something, and she's appreciative and whatever. And there was something in the gift giving that separated you from just somebody else or whatever. I don't remember the psychology behind it, but it was cool. So that part worked. Gave whatever. Okay, let's go to the bar. So we leave and go to the bar. And when they're there, obviously, don't start right away. But generally when you're with a group of people or, there's multiple people, and I think we had met some other people that were there, and so we're hanging out. Even though we came together, it wasn't like we were boyfriend and girlfriend, right? We were nothing but friends, never an inkling of shenanigans, right?
Yeah.
So when we're there, they say at some point in the night, the opportunity will arise to hand placement. Like they do a chart of, hey buddy, if I came up and was like, hey, Nick, you need a beer? I would come up, touch you on your shoulder, right? Like, yo, hey, you turn over and, hey, I'm going to grab a beer. You need something? Yeah, man, give me a Coors Light or whatever. Cool. So at a point when there's a group of people kind of go, hey, I'm going to go to the bar. And don't ask everybody, but single her out because you came with her.
Right.
And don't put your hand on her butt. Don't put your hand on her shoulder, but slide your hand in the minute you start saying the words, hand on the small of the back to like upper ribs, right? Which is that like control position or whatever. And not like wrapping it around, but kind of use the side that you're there with. So either there or dead back.
So it was just like you were getting the attention more than anything else, and it was like a, hey, I'm putting my hand in a intimate spot here.
Well, and part of it is it's weird because it does work in sensory perception, because she's feeling the touch nicely right there, and when you speak, when you speak and touch at the same time. Your hand, you're touching her and your hand's on me, and I'm asking you directly and not everybody else, right?
Well, now she's also focusing on what you're saying too, and then the whole hand thing just kind of becomes a back thing, where if you were to go up and slide the hand first, she's like, oh, and then she's thinking about that while you're saying that instead of it just being one fluid motion.
So that part of it's good. And one thing that they did go into that females, and it's this article we'll go into in a second too, that females, and this is good body language and good for you because you're a youngster, right? So, listen to as much of this or, retain as much of this as possible. If you're out with people or girls or whatever, and you're like, oh, blah, 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 and hey, and if they touch you while they're talking to you, females do not. And it's psychological, body language 101. If a woman finds you repulsive or non-attractive or has any kind of like whatever, they won't touch you. So if you're sitting there and they're like, whatever, and like a push or a touch or anything, if they're touching you in any way, shape, or form other than punching you, that is in their mind the psychological backstory for this is women will not touch, and they've done it. We're put this out and they're if they touch it or they do whatever, they don't find it offensive, they don't find it scary, they don't find it repulsive. So if she's touching you, that is almost, now don't just, hey, you want to go home, right? You don't just like, shotgun approach it. But what you do is you reciprocate the touch, right? I'm always, I'm very defensive. So I will play I make her jump offside and she touches me, then later I'll boom, 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 and I won't just reach out in the middle of people and go boop, right? And just like, poke you. But it'll be another thing, reach small the back and be like, hey, I'm going to grab a drink. Do you need anything? Okay, cool. Boom. Because when you touch them after they've touched you, right? They now, by you touching them, says you don't find her repulsive. You're not scared of her. You're not whatever, right? So it's unspoken language that works between the two. Now, it's very weird because in this scenario, I did the hand on the back and I was like, because I am a gentleman, I did the hand on the back and I was like, hey, I'm going to go grab, you need something to drink or whatever. And she was like, no, I still have some. She was like, but cool, thanks, and smiled. And then I went, anyone else? I'm heading to the bar, right? So that even plays it off more because I touched her, I asked her first, and then I asked everyone else. I go and I grabbed a drink and I came back. And when I came back, she was sitting on the couch. And they had a couch lounge and a piano bar and whatever. So she was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, cool. So I sit down. And as we're talking, boom, 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 and I didn't do the Richie Cunningham arm around her, whatever. I'm still playing it until the offense gives me a reason to blitz, right?
Right.
So I'm sitting back and in the process, we're like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And somebody else was talking, right? So she's kind of engaged in a conversation there. And she reached over and hand on my leg while she was talking to somebody else. Mm-hmm. Whether or not she knew what she was doing, it's like, with her, or it was just a comment. She feels she's had a couple glasses of wine. I've already touched her. I've singled her out. Now she's talking to somebody else but wants to keep me engaged and reach over and put her hand on my knee.
Yeah.
So when she put her hand on my knee, right, she put her hand on my leg, I did the arm behind the couch and kind of leaned into the conversation, right? To where maybe my shoulder was, I leaned into the conversation, boom, 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 boom. And, as we did whatever, I think she had her arm back and I put my hand on her arm for a short period of time. And as soon as I did that, she leaned right in, hand stayed on my leg and kind of whatever. Now I'm like, holy crap, this article is working, right? And it seems so, but when you learn the couple things that when a female touches you, there's also, you can go into facial recognition when they're talking to you and whatever. And this worked when I did something in Vegas with a female. And I told her exactly what I saw her doing and where her mind was at. And she was like, oh my God, who are you? Like, how do you, she twirled her hair, she bit her lip when we were talking about something sexual driven and whatever. And I go, look, not to say that it's completely driven towards me, but I can tell you how you're feeling right now. You've had enough alcohol. You bit your lip when we talked about this, so you're definitely not, afraid of sex and whatever, whether or not you're gonna, partake in any. But I can tell you that if I was paying attention, I thought I had more time and didn't have to catch a plane, I would probably aggressively, go ahead.
Well, no, it's getting me excited because I don't really think about this, but I do this all the time. Like, it's like you get them excited when you you're acknowledging their behavior, but you have to get to that point, right?
For sure.
But once you get to that point, they love it. It's like you're breaking them down, and they're like, "Why do you have me all figured out? Like, what is going on here?"
And and being cool, like putting on that cool persona, and be like, I don't know. I mean, I've studied some things or whatever. I read a lot. What are you gonna do? Blah blah blah. And when you're figuring them out, it's not like a universal, but then stuff. And that's attractive to some women also when you just happen to know things, right? Every girl has a smidgen of daddy issue or whatever, and the main male influence in their life knew stuff, right?
Yeah.
So then you're looking at, future mate, this and this, and they don't even know what they're thinking about, but it's working. Mm-hmm. So then the hand on the thing, the this, and then it was weird. There was a whole lot of standing and leaning in and the hand on the back, and she leans in, puts her arm around me. So all that was working. So now I'm like, okay, cool. This worked. Now, I don't recall reading that it was going to turn into a one-night stand, right? But all the groundwork is laid. At that point, it's kind of up to you. So we leave the bar. And, whatever. And we're not too intoxicated, right? It was a normal hangout, whatever. Well, cool. And I think it was, that's right. We got to go back to the house and whatever and blah, blah. So we go back to the house and she's like, cool. So we're sitting there. We pour a glass of wine or whatever. And so we sit there and we're talking, right? Because we're friends. Mm-hmm. And it's not awkward because you're friends. And it's not because you haven't really done anything. You're allowing your subconscious to control what has been happening. So she comes over and sits on the couch and, and I think it's, again, it was just close and longing or, even, a touch on the leg or whatever. And then I can't remember, but it kind of just turned into, we didn't have to say anything. It just kind of, boom, reach in and kiss. Mm-hmm. So we start kissing and we make out and it turns into a very like high school like makeout session where it's deep and passionate. And this is what got me on the thought process.
Yeah.
Because dude, I like that more than anything. And the funny, like when we stopped, like it turned into makeout to this, and it was rolling over on the couch, one position, like multiple position. Like, it was almost like sex positions, but with just kissing and making out, right?
Well, that's the cool thing, because you can have sex with pretty much anyone, right? You can put your penis in a vagina, and that's sex. But not everyone will reciprocate like your friskiness, the way you kiss, right? And when that just hits right, that feels so much better than just
like you almost don't want to start. You want to keep doing this for as long as possible.
It feels so good,
right? And they generally break first, where they enough. And I'm like, no, I'm kind of cool with this. I could keep doing this for a while.
Sometimes like we'll just it's like I don't even need that right now, because like this satisfied me. At that point, it's more than just like a sexual thing. You're enjoying a human being at that point.
Dude, if hookers made out more, I would make out with them. I mean, granted, you're opening a whole lot of area to contamination, but yeah, no, it's a thing. Even when it's hookup, one night stand, whatever stuff, I still like to do it because it's part of my nature. I'm not doing it to please them. I'm hoping that they like it, and then it's a good gauge of knowing how equally charged and yoked you are with the other person. So get this, she stops in like a and I'm like, oh, right, and I'm like smiling like ear to ear, like, dude, that was so neat. I've known you for like 9 years, and we just made out like the most passionately. If you didn't know better, you would think that we both had a crush on each other for 9 years, and it didn't. We all dated other people, and we were just friends and high five, and never really thought of ever messing with her. I mean, granted, I knew she was attractive, but what are you going to do? But there were other people.
Of course.
And she was like, wow. And I was like, wow. I was like, yeah, right? What's happening? And she was like, I'm kind of mind blown right now. She was like, you are so much more passionate and like loving and soft and whatever than I ever would have. And I was like, don't say soft, no. But
don't even say those trigger words.
And I guess maybe tender would have been a good one. Like, let's bring out the thesaurus, and no, seriously, not soft, but I didn't like dry hump your leg, believe me.
Tender still has some girth to it.
That's right. It's not that long, but it's and I went, yeah. I was like, no, I'm kind of, and she was like, yeah, I never would, as long as I've known you. You just always carry such a rough this and this. And I was like, well, yeah, but why do you think every girl that I've been with has been with me for long periods of time and whatever? I go, I'm a very, passionate, sensitive dude when it comes to certain stuff. Don't get me wrong, in the midst of throes of whatever, I'm going to bang the snot out of you like nobody's business. I didn't say that to her, but, obviously. And she was like, wow, that's crazy. And, oh, that's neat. And, so we just stopped and went, wow, that's crazy. I wouldn't have expected that from you. Like, I've known you for a while, and you always like rough exterior and, talk and I was like, yeah, well, I go, there's certain things you don't know about people until you get into certain situations, and, You get into an intimate situation with someone, you learn pretty much half of them right there. And I think I did the positive reinforcement. Like, I was like, well, how would kissing you, I don't see kissing you would happen any other way, right? I was like, dude, you're nice and you're sweet and, whatever. I'm like, I guess that kind of brings it out, but I go, that is me kind of by nature. And she was like, wow. And she was like, and then I think we kissed a little bit more, did whatever, had a glass of wine or had a sip or two of wine. And she was like, why don't you spend the night? And I went, okay. And she was like, but look, we're not going to have sex or whatever. And I went, dude, I didn't really see us really making out like super passionate Gone with the Wind style either. So I'm kind of cool with whatever, right? Now, mind you, I'm a little revved up at this point, and I'm like, wow, balls, where did I go wrong? Maybe should I have gone less passion, more passion, like 72% passion, whatever? Should I, stuck my finger in her ear, giving her a wet willy to break the passion up? I don't know what I'm supposed to do at this point.
Just crush up the passion a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit, like break something up. I don't know. So, and I didn't know, and there was a reason why, right? So this is a good story and bad story. So we go and we lay down and we just like cuddle and talk and do whatever, fall asleep. right? Because she said it wasn't going to happen. I'm not going to push,
right?
If I hear no a certain amount of times, dude, my sex drive just whack-a-mole.
I don't really see why anyone would be turned on by a no. For me, it's just like okay, all right, well then that's that.
Cool. Yeah, like I didn't really ask. You said no without me asking, so I'm going to go ahead and, just, concede to the fact that this isn't happening. So I wake up in the morning, right? Birds are chirping and this and I'm like, hey, and, a little like snuggle cuddle. And of course I've got, semi-frustrated manwood in the morning. So I'm like, hey, and I think we kiss a little bit, whatever. And she reaches down and grabs, and I'm like, oh, maybe she was just like, this will be less seedy if I just wait until morning. So, we're kissing, little cuddle, heavy petting, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, hold on for a minute. She gets up and she goes in the bathroom. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking down at my buddy and he's standing up. The sheets are, TP'd. And I'm like, dude, what is this? So she hops back in bed and she just completely goes at it. Like it's boom, 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 kissing, this and that, boom, hops on top. We're going at it, right? So I'm still in my boxers. And they were my lucky boxers, by the way. I was really playing on this article. Hopefully I could see how it panned out.
She wanted to wear the lucky boxers.
And they were my granddaddy's boxers, right? God. And they were too big for me, right? They were too big. So I'd always have to I'd fold them over, when you peg your pants or whatever. So I'd have to fold them over and give them a turn. So these things were great. And they were great to have sex in because it wasn't like you're wearing regular boxers that would bind up on you, right? Yeah. The flap in the middle. So we're going at it. She's on top, this and this. So I flip her over and we're going at it. And she gives me the, hey, I got to be to work, at whatever. And I look at the clock. Granted, she worked nearby, but I was like, oh, no. I don't know if I'll be able to, that's going to put in work, trying to get my mind right. Because normally you're trying to elongate it for as long as possible. Right, yeah. So now I'm having to work out an algorithm in my head of how long is it long enough.
How hard you got to thrust.
Yeah, and how how will she, time for her to actually go to work and whatever. So I'm going through that, which is only elongating the process.
Yeah.
So we're going at it, whatever, and I flip and this, and I pull the covers back. I look down, and it looks as if somebody cut my artery going to my penis, and there's blood everywhere. So mind you, she didn't tell me, hey, the reason why we didn't have sex last night because that was the last day of my period and whatever, and went and cleaned up. So she sneaky peated me and whatever, which I totally disagree with. You need to give a brother a heads up.
You dirty little girl.
The panic that went through my head was I broke something, right? I'm looking for me. I'm wiping stuff off
she got razor blades.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, do you have some chastity belt I didn't know about? And I scuffed up on the side of it. So I'm looking panic. I kind of went, the most non-cool, oh no. And I look back and I'm like, oh, what's that? And she was like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was done and whatever and this and this. And now I'm extremely creeped out. Yeah. Right? And I'm like, oh. And I look and I've got a ring. I've got a ring of blood around my boxer shorts. And now I'm like, oh, these are my granddad. These are my lucky shorts. Dude, I hope this blood comes out. Does shout really work? And again, my head's so then I'm like, well, screw it. I mean, I've already done this, and now I'm kind of pouty with the, and I'm looking at the clock, and I'm like, this is definitely not going to happen, right? Because now I'm not into it, and and then I don't know if you've done that in that time of the month.
Yeah.
But it's not the most lubricating thing, right? If anything, you give it a good 7 to 10 minutes and it begins to become.
It really depends on their flow, man. It depends on the position in the week, right? Because you can get them in a light time and you can get them in a heavy time, and I tell you, neither are super pleasant for me. But one's a little more.
User friendly.
Yeah, one's you're swimming in some lotion.
Yeah, and this was not that. It had gotten drier, so now the friction is even whatever, and I'm like,
dry blood though. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean it was enough to where whatever the suction must have helped the last little thing, and it gross and creepy. But then, the viscosity was going away, right? Like having sex in a hot tub or in a pool, right? Eventually, it seems great. You're in a bunch of fluid, but it has a way of washing away the natural fluid or whatever. Yeah. So I'm like, and I'm not happy, and I'm like, what's happening? So I kind of went, I was like, I was like, look, you said you got to be work at like 8. It is now like 7:59. I was like, dude, this is not going to end anytime. And she was like, no, don't stop. So now I'm like, she was like, I'll go in late. And I'm like, not what I wanted to hear. I really wanted an easy out, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going and I'm like, man, I think I'm at about 3/4.
At that point, you're going down, right?
Yeah, and I'm at 3/4, right? Like teetering between 3/4 and like 5/8. Like it's just. And then and I'm stuffing it in there and whatever, and then I stopped again like another 5 minutes in, and I just went. I was like, look, dude, you got to go to work. We can do this at any time. Maybe when this is, and she was like, I'm so sorry, and I was like, yeah, no worries, right? Like I'm sure the look on my face was like, no worries.
Okay.
No, it's totally cool. I do this all the time. Like
cotton swabs to put in my nose.
Oh, dude. So we do whatever. I go like try and wash off as feverishly as I can. She's hurry up and getting ready and whatever. And I'm like, cool. And then, hey, blah, blah, dude, yeah, well, call me and we'll do it. I have to, and I give her the thing and whatever. And as I do the walk of shame, like with my, Kool-Aid stain.
Well, when you had just washed your own junk off in the girl's sink and you've used toilet paper and splashing water on your Johnson to get blood off of it, you're at a weird point in the day already, and it hasn't even started.
Didn't see it coming at all.
Scrub that off.
I
want to be in the shower. You can go. I'll lock the door. But
yeah,
I'm using the shower.
Yeah, and she had to be to work. And to tell you the truth, dude, I'm weird. I just need to get out of the situation. I need to leave. I need to get away from you. I don't want to look at you because you did this to me. I need to get over here. I have to go. So I did the most haphazard wash job, like whatever. And I'm concerned about my boxers. Right? Like my lucky boxers. Dude, I tried to wash them. I bleached them. I did everything. There was that ring. Dude, they could no longer be my lucky boxers. Yeah.
Gramps is,
it was
he rolled over.
It was Hercules in the hair. Like I felt like I was without my magic power for a while. And the weird thing was, I never called her again. I completely went ghost. I was with my chick, and she, like my long relationship chick.
Yeah.
And one day, we had smoked the marijuanas, which we didn't do all that often. And she was like, oh, and I was like, okay, cool. So, and it was weird because the reason I didn't is because I would get panic attacky. Like that's just when the THC had gotten, and I was like, I can't do it. But they wanted to and whatever. So I was like, cool. So we did. And I'm sitting there and I'm like literally heart pounding this. My nose is stuffy. I'm like, I was like, dude, I'm going to go lay down. You can hang out and talk to your friends. So I go lay down, and now I'm like quiet, peace, and I've gotten my heart rhythm down, and I'm kind of over the panic attack. I'm like, this is horrible. What's happening? Then she hops in bed, and she's like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I had known she was on her period, and she was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. Oh, my God, weed makes me so horny. And I'm like, good, note to self, when you're not around me, don't have anyone offer you weed. I was like, you creep. She's like, she was like, come on, and whatever. And I was like, I was like, no. I was like, I'm totally cool. And she was like, no, come on. And I went, your stuff isn't working right? It's broken. And she was like, come on, I really want to. And I went, no. Like, leave me alone. No. And she kind of raped me, like, no. And she went, no. And she was like, she's like giving me a handy while talking to me. And I'm stoned, right? So I'm like,
first.
And she's giving me a handy, and I'm like, no. And she was like, that seems to say okay. I was like, yeah, but I don't want to. I was like, look, I don't know. It must be the weed. I don't know why, but
so rapey.
So, and dude, it was extremely rapey. So she, vroom, and she, come on. And dude, she kind of raped me, like hopped on top of him. And I'm just like,
you don't got to say kind of, man. She raped
me.
She raped
because no means no, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is possible for guys to get raped.
Oh, yeah. It happens. And
but it was not pleasurable. Like I sat there with a pouty, like, no, I don't. And she just shut up, you'll be fine, and whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I am being raped. Like this is happening.
Sad red rocket, right?
And
there.
dude, when I went and showered off and whatever, and I'm like, oh my God, like whatever the weed made her a horrible person, it made me a little bitch, right? Like I was just pouty and like whiny,
just scrubbing yourself.
And I did, and I'm just
crying.
like, oh. And she was like, shut up, you liked it. And I was like, no, like I was like, why do you keep saying like weird trucker rapey things to me?
Oh my God.
Like, you liked it, you liked it. I'm like, I mean, ooh. She was like, well, you came, didn't you? And I was like, dude, I could come banging a sock. Like, I can watch cartoons and jerk off. Like, you don't understand. I can have weird thoughts and make that happen. But the fact that, bloody vagine and whatever, and I went and, dude, it was horrible.
It was forcibly pounded upon you. But let me backtrack a little bit, because you got me so excited with that story. And let me tell you this. That whole story that you just told me about happened to me very recently in this year, and it was actually orchestrated by the female. She did all that to me. She was the you in that situation, and everything was the exact same story.
Gotta like a lady me.
Except the next morning, I did not have bloody period. She told me the night before. She's like, "Hey, I want to keep you around, so we're not gonna have sex because we've both been drinking." And I was like, "Cool." And that was that. And hung out a couple times since then. We'll see where that goes. But
so there was no morning sex either?
No. And we're still talking. You know, it didn't. Maybe if we did, I would have been weird the next day, and then nothing would have happened. But she had the right mind to say, "Hey, I want to keep you around. Let's not put our genitals together."
And I mean, that's a logical. Like, if you can trick me into liking you first, dude, you've got a much higher. You know, once I've been, it goes the same thing with dog training, right? When you train a dog, you don't give a dog a treat and then tell him to sit, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a male dog and you've got your balls, right, you're sitting on top of your balls. You ever seen a dog like, I'm like, dude, you must really want this milk bone. Dude, this shit can't taste that good. You're sitting on a tile floor, putting your weight down on your balls. Like, dude, if I nick my balls into like a corner of a table, I'm, ow, oh, damn it, right? So, there is part of that training. And if I kind of like when a girl does that because, dude, I do like to get to know them. And any of that. If you trick me into liking you, I will like you. But if you also crank me and do whatever, then I'm going to put you in the segment of you're really cool and I like hanging out with you, but I also want to crank. Like I'm literally counting down, the time until I see your boobs.
Well, it's nice when a girl can take the nice stupid guy of the drunk mind of a stupid guy at night and just kind of not make him mad about not having sex. It's kind of a crazy thing that a girl can just say, "Hey, we don't want to have sex," and you're drunk and you're not even upset about it.
Well, and it kind of makes sense into, like, for me, if I'm really, really drunk, I don't want to have sex because it's not the best sex I'm going to have, right? And I don't have sex, dude. If it were up to me, I'd two pump chump it and, make a mess all over you and then go back to doing what I was doing, right? So the whole longevity of the process and the multiple positions and paying attention to your breathing patterns and what you're doing and you like this and you don't like that is because, and I'm not known as a great, concerning myself with other people in general, right? So I think that sex is my time to be nice in a way because I'm putting you first. Yeah. 'Cause, dude, seriously, I would just go dun 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 dun. There we go. How was that for you? Yeah? Cool. I'm going to go back to watching TV, right? So I don't. I go through the process and and granted there is a weird power play in there when you've got them grabbing the blankets and undoing the bed sheet and whatever.
That's where I get off.
And you're just like, yeah, I'm doing a good job. You seem to like this. But it all factors back to they seem to like it. So I'm concerned about you liking it. I'm taking joy from the fact you're liking it and doing whatever. So I want to push you to the edge, do whatever, make sure you had a good time. And then I can snap my fingers and make that happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting in the, with them pushing it back and going, hey, let's see where this goes. And if we do whatever, stuff could get weird. And it's a good play on her behalf.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of impressed because, we still did a lot of stuff that night. I rubbed the old bitsaroos and gave her, a no, and then went to the bathroom, came back. She was all snuggled up and ready to go to bed.
And I've had to when I was way too intoxicated to where I knew, like, there's no way, dude. I shouldn't. Not even 100% if I go to the restroom, I'm going to be able to pee out of this thing properly. So I shouldn't be trying to use. And it was like I was up at 9 o'clock, went to the bar at like 10 o'clock, drank heavily from 10 until 2, went back to the house. We drank a bunch on her behalf, not me. She wanted to keep drinking, and then hot tub, and then whatever, and then come out. And I'm like, now the alcohol is flowing through the body. I've been up since 9 o'clock. It's now like 4 o'clock in the morning. That, and here's a great thing about getting older. With some making out and this and the female G-spot and paying attention to their rhythmic breathing and this and doing whatever, you can take care of them with this, with these three, and get it done. Finding the female G-spot is the best, and especially if you learn this as a younger dude, you will set yourself aside from every other, turd dick friend by a long shot. Because, dude,
gotta obtain the holy book.
Yeah, no, seriously, it is a thing. Because,
got any diagrams laying around, man?
No, it's pretty simple. Do you know where from anatomy class or whatever, do you know where the female G-spot is located?
Know how to find it.
Well, which one are you talking about? You talking about the one closest in the top, or the bottom, or the back?
Generally top, right? I can worry about the others as it goes around. It's a lot like Tesla's transferable current coil, right? To where you've got your connection points there and it bing 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 bing, right? But in general, right, because the position generally whenever you're down there, or if you're making out and you're on the side or whatever, but if you're spending copious time around the clitoris, with your thumb or doing whatever, and when you do insert, it's easiest for me when I generally go to that, like in my random playbook, that if I am down there and I'm going down and cunnilingus, right, so I'm doing whatever. But then at some point that gets old, right? Because you can only spend so much time here and there. Yeah. Now, some dudes, and if you watch porn as a cue, they're horribly wrong, right? They just, smack it, spit on it, flick it with the middle finger. Right? Yeah, right? Like, dude, you're horrible people. Why are you doing this? Like, dude, you are a bad actor, sir. Yeah, drop the flying elbow, Jimmy Superfly Snuka. But if you're using left hand with thumb there, you boom, and you can still, but when you insert the fingers and you begin to press up, and I sometimes will press down on the stomach just so I can make sure I'm making contact. Mm-hmm. And I like little skinny women anyways, which makes it a little bit easier to find. Yeah. It's almost like you can't hide from me. Come on out, sir. Yeah. We see you in there.
There's just not
show me that ruffled up, rough piece of. There it is.
There's not a whole lot of places you can hide from me, sweetie.
That's right. That's right. It sounds a lot like my rapey experience. But when you do, and I'll put a little pressure there, and once I feel it and whatever, they'll begin to, squirm, or you'll notice the right, and boom. And it's not so much about constant pressure, right? This is a weird place, right? Because I found that if you push and you hold up on it and then go back to boom, 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 and then release pressure, maybe a little bit of a movement, then hold pressure.
I actually noticed that like today or yesterday when watching porn that the porn stars sometimes still get off. Like you can tell when they get off because they quiver a little.
Just taking notes.
For sure.
Quiver at 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Okay, play.
I'm just like.
Well, like imagine.
I thought that was only my favorite that did that. No, they all.
Nope, they all. Well, think about it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, if that's what they do, and when I've watched documentaries and whatever, and most of them, it's not as lucrative as you believe, and if you want fame, that's kind of a weird, janky way to get it, right? So it's a different mindset. Yeah. But one thing, you can find at a higher level, they really like sex. So if you really like sex and making sex your business, have the sex, right? And if you're doing this and whatever, you might as well find a way to get yourself where you need to be, right? And females, it's easy for them. They can do it multiple times, right? We just need a small amount of time to go ahead and, get everything worked back up and go.
Rest period.
Yeah. But yeah, they do. But the G-spot is cool. And every girl's a little bit different. But when you use your 65% of what and how, and a lot of it is trial and error. But I had an older woman who was like, look, and blah, blah, blah. And she kind of, showed me, she was my Mrs. Robinson, and she showed me around all kinds of stuff. And dude, you want to talk about a claim to fame? One of the times that it was drink until whatever, and she just hops into bed and let's have sex, and I'm like, dude, I really I don't know if I want to have sex or vomit. Like, I don't want to throw up on you, but if we're laying there and it's cool, but then cuddling starts and then this and then that, and I'm like, dude, I would have been good 4 hours ago, 5 hours ago. If we could just go to sleep now, I'll do this in the morning, but I feel nauseous. Like, I'm sick to my stomach and I'm getting double vision. I shouldn't be having sex. But of course, if they're asking you to, you try in whatever attempt you can. Yeah. So I did the next best thing. When I did whatever, I boom, boom, boom. I was like, here, I jumped down, boom, 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 this, G-spot, did whatever. And I got the accolade of, holy crap, like your head game is insane. Like I've messed with guys and girls, and holy crap. But it was the use of external stimuli, internal stimuli, with doing what you needed to do, knowing that was primed and ready, and then this, and then a combination of the three, and then boom, cool, leave me alone. But she didn't. Then she hopped on, and I'm like, no, I'm at like 3/4 at best. No. I was like, dude, if I change one position and I get dizzy, that thing is going like, whoop, and then we're going to have to work it up again, and I don't have time. I've got to sleep at some point tonight.
And she pulls out the dick pump and.
But even then, once you let that thing loose, dude, like seriously, if you're not using a cock ring or whatever.
I can't. There's just sometimes where I'm trying real hard, and all the cards are on the table. Everything's right. Maybe I'm not even nauseous anymore, but he's ready for bed.
Yeah.
Little Johnson down there. He's not trying to do this, and I mean, sometimes you just gotta go to bed.
Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, I think I faked an orgasm before. I'm not gonna lie. This is getting way much. I've been raped. I've been raped in this episode. I've had dude.
That's
seriously,
weird hearing it from a guy though.
Oh, dude, if I know that I'm not even close and I'm banging with a 3/4 and it's just kind of shoving itself in there like Gonzo's nose from the Muppets and it's just kind of bending at the top and.
There's that one move, right, where you fake finale by spitting, and then when they turn around, you surprise. It's kind of like that, but without the surprise.
Yeah, I don't put that much. Like if I'm wearing a condom, or whatever, I'm like, oh my god, and I do get the. Did you? And I'm like, yeah, bro. Yeah. And I hurry up and take the condom off. And
can I see it? No. This is way too much of a mess. I gotta dispose of this immediately.
Yeah,
this
right.
Is ground zero here. This is bad news.
So yeah, I've done that once or twice because, dude, I'm pretty in touch with when and how. If I'm messing with a chick and she's like, oh my god, I gotta. Dude, my parents are gonna be home and whatever. You know, like when we were in fucking, high school or college or whatever. And I think it was college or when when I was like 23, my chick was still living at home, so we'd try and do sneaky sex when the folks weren't home. But sometimes, and she was about it, and hence why I could stay in the relationship for like 6 years, right? So, she would do spontaneous, like, come on, let's do whatever. And I was like, what? And then it was, hey, oh my God, my parents, we're going at it and whatever. And she's like, oh my God, dude, my parents, we got to hurry up. And I'm like, boom, I look at the clock and like numbers and it begins to countdown, boom, and it can be as fast as like 36 seconds. I can get in my head, and boom, 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 boom. Cool,
it's like perfect control. Matrix.
I'm gonna go sit on the couch like I wasn't just doing this.
Matrix numbers are coming down all over the walls and stuff, and it's like that limitless drug. He's just seeing everything, and he's like, okay, I gotta.
And it's a weird trick because
at a 45-degree angle, and gotta breathe at this BPM to get my heart rate going, and all right, we can do this. Let's go.
Yep, dude, it's a thing, and the only bad thing is now I'm so aware of when I can and I can on demand that I also know how far away I am if I need to, or if I'm just randomly doing something. I'm like, no, can't even see the horizon. Yeah. The sun is not even coming up. It is still pitch black. I'm seeing stars. Like
Raven Simone with your penis, man.
I really am. I really am. Dude, I took too many years of studying and getting to know myself and doing whatever. So I know that if I'm feeling this way and I'm doing whatever, there's no time requirement. Maybe somewhere in that quagmire of like 30, 40 minutes down the road. But at that point, I'm going to throw up. I'm going to pass out. I'm going to do whatever. Like, why am I even still awake? Like, I've done like 13, 14 Jameson shots, drank like 8 or 9 beers, did some weird stuff, shots that were given to me and whatever, and I've been up for like 14 hours. I don't even want to come at this point. Don't even want to finish.
I mean, like years ago, I would have done anything to just have some sex, and then I don't know what it is. You just start drinking, just starts to make you more tired. You just start getting older, and you won't go to bed.
Dude, and there's different alcohols. I've realized that if Jaeger or Jaeger bombs are involved, my penis is not cool. He doesn't dude, it's hit or miss. But if I was drinking, I used to drink Jack and Coke, only Jack and Coke. I wouldn't do any other shots. I would have Jack and Coke. I could pass out. You could just bring in chick after chick and whatever, and you could ride me like a My Little Pony or like the little pony outside of Kmart back in the day, the penny pony. Dude, seriously, I could be asleep.
Well, there's different.
I think I've nodded off during sex before.
There's certain symptoms to each different. I get my secret recipe is Jack and Guinness. That will make me fully functional, and I won't get a hangover, and I can just do anything that night.
Yeah.
But if it's I'm drinking cheap vodka and slamming some crappy beers, and I ain't doing nothing for you tonight. I'm sorry. This is That was me drinking, and now this is me sleeping. There's no other me tonight.
And I think females are rude in their random drunken, like they just expect you at any point to be able to perform. And I was like, look, you do understand. Your body just magically produces, like fluid, and when you're drinking, all it takes is a brush against your hair, and you're good to go, right? You're laying there, and go ahead, pound away. I've got to, move blood from here to here. Yeah. My central nervous system is already being damaged. It's like, Star Trek and the Romulans are like the photon torpedoes are like coming through. The shields aren't up.
You're doing all this. Your muscles are at work too, because she's just laying there. She's drunk. She wants you to do the work, and then you're taking all the blood away from your already limp dong. And you can't expect all the blood to go right back into there when you're
reserves.
Maybe that's another reason why I don't like missionary, and I think that my magic chick that maybe brought back the missionary or whatever is so cool, because missionary is horrible when you've had too much to drink and you're trying to do whatever. Oh, yeah. You're already planking, holding your body, moving, and it's not
leaning forward.
And yeah, you're moving your whole body for a thing. There's no piston like thing, right? You got to move the whole body and whatever, and that's weird. But there are certain positions, no matter how banged up I am, that I can lay there and do whatever. It's the moving around and the dizziness of I've had too much to drink. The minute that happens, my what's going on? Why are you weirding out? Whatever. I think all the blood goes to the don't throw up like organs. Like, don't throw up. The stomach is now piling blood on top. Like, keep it down. She will definitely not dig it if you vomit on her, unless she's into that.
That's what the appendix is for, in case anyone was wondering. That's what the appendix does. It provides the puke damper down.
Oh well, dude, that is working, because I don't throw up even when I randomly, I'm not eating bread or carbs or whatever, and I only have like 2 pieces of steak, and
that's how that keeps happening.
What's that?
Random smoke flying above my head, because he
does the lean back.
My head, there you go. It goes up forward.
I'm trying to not blow it into like the direction of it. I'll go this way. My bad.
No, it is an extra level of difficulty with trying to vape and do all this.
Yeah, it's
well, I've been like freaking out throughout the show, because I'm like, why is my vape still lingering? Why is Jake still lingering?
Something's
it keeps
wrong here. Something is seriously
well
wrong.
In this article, we're a little bit over time, but this article goes, just to cliff note it, where everything is on the right track. If you're in a relationship or you're dating someone or whatever, you both like each other and there's a spark, and it goes into eye contact, and you guys are on a peaceful walk or just having meaningful conversation. Notice your partner turns their body towards you, even during conversations, if their legs are crossed, right? So dude, body language and whatever, it's almost like cheating, because I can tell right off the bat if their body language, how, when they're looking at you in the eye, unless they're super shy and nervous or whatever, they'll begin to. But then even the eye drag when they're telling a story, they're thinking too much, or you're looking up and to the left. Yeah. There's a ton of good stuff. This article was pretty cool, but it is pretty long, and obviously talking about their, if a woman is attracted to you, she will keep a straight back when bending body towards you unconsciously. Mm-hmm. This would be an effort by her to make her figure look more attractive and get your attention. So that's one thing.
Cheating. It's nature,
and it's information.
Yeah,
dude, being smarter is better than the other option, right? So learn as much as you possibly can, and if you like the ladies, why not learn everything about them? I was joking with people. I watched that because I date. Seems like recently I've been dating more black females than I have been white females, just because white women are crazy. Yeah, no, dude, you can have them all, man. But I watched that Girls Trip, right, with Queen Latifah, and
movie was hilarious.
Dude, it was super hilarious, right? But even though I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, it's cool, but I like to study my whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Because I know girls watch this. Grapefruiting, where I didn't know what that grapefruit thing was all about.
Yeah, I was like,
what's that?
That's not a thing.
Someone explain grapefruiting to me, please. Please.
When they cut two ends on a grapefruit and suck you off while twisting the grape juice, while
don't get too excited about it. I don't know.
Not because I'm on the spot and I have like anxiety. So, but yeah, they working the grapefruit while they're sucking you off.
Oh my god. Why have I not
Get
done
like a
this
little
before?
scene for you guys to see.
The hand movement. He's like, imagine the grapefruit. Imagine your phallic object here. This is the lady's hand.
Dude, it's
I'm pretty blown away. I've never heard of that.
Dude, never heard of it, and I guess it's been going on for like a year, but it's been going on for like a year, but it was in the movie, so I didn't know.
What extra does that add? Extra pleasure?
I have no idea what it. I have no idea what it's supposed to do or how it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
I guess it's supposed to feel like a vag.
Don't they have those already?
Yeah, but they don't feel like doing it, but they just like they'll get you off.
Huh.
Which is weird. Which, dude, don't get me wrong. If there was a grapefruit, I would watch this tutorial and I would go home and bang a grapefruit, like later tonight. But it went horribly wrong in the movie, so just go.
Worry about the citrusy juices getting in my urethra at that.
That's
point.
literally what happened in the movie.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it was very funny, and but it was a thing. Like, I've never heard of this. I've been on this planet. I study most things that are weird and obscure sexually and whatever. But yeah, this was a thing. And
would you do it?
If a girl, dude,
No, that.
I mean, because I try anything like at least twice, right? I don't know if I would.
With a brain like mine, I'll be thinking that's gonna be really sticky when we're done. I'm okay with that.
I mean, well, and then that begs the question, like, okay, so they
Not the
do
good kind of
they do this, but then do you use food in the the Varsity Blues with the whipped cream and the whatever? I've never been into all that shenanigans, but if a chick wanted to put whipped cream and do whatever, I would let her do it. This I don't know because of the movie, and I saw how horribly wrong it can go.
Okay.
And then in the movie, she had to go get 2 grapefruits because I'm sure they were implying that the gentleman was larger than normal.
BBC.
She has just got her stuff just hanging down there.
And see, I never knew what they did to the inside of the grapefruit. If they did cut a hole or they just shoved your stuff through the hole.
Do they just kind of freehand and guess that your
size and girth or whatever?
Yeah. Cut it too big, and you're just like, well, that was the only grapefruit they got.
I think you're only supposed to cut the root out.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
and then maybe you
You're
push
supposed to-
through the rind or
Okay.
whatever. But
That makes more sense.
why? Like, how bored? Like, how sassy did you need to sass up your relationship to do grapefruiting? Dude, okay, here's the thing. The first person who gets grapefruited gets free fucking juice for a month. Like, dude, seriously. Dude, if we could talk somebody into doing this and it's gotta be a weird, creepy story or somehow.
We could probably get Aaliyah to do this.
I could get that done tonight if that's on the cards. I will go to Kroger right now, hit anyone up, and
be like, dude, come here, watch this. How crazy is this? We gotta do it.
Film it for you.
No, I don't. As cool
Just
as
gotta have her vouch for it.
dude, I'll trust. We gotta play on the honor system here, right? Okay. We gotta play on it one way or another. Oh, then she takes.
I'll just bring in the.
Hello.
Wow. Oh my lord.
This shit just got real.
Laughing in the ear.
Wow. You know what? I wasn't too sure about her, but so.
You know what? That was.
Wow.
She is.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So that's happening.
In the movie.
Oh, okay. They keep showing an extra close up of her face after she's
I don't
done.
know, man. That's your cinematography at work, bro. Oh my God, that's your God at work.
Why is there such a sharp, pointy tip on the end of that? Is
I
that
don't-
not cutting her throat open?
Or did she put a condom on it or something? Is it?
What is that? Is that just a rubber dildo, or is that like an eggplant that was molded in iron, steel, and marbleized?
I don't know. She may have used a. Well, that is the Jake Podcast, JakePodcast.com. We'll get back to you with who got grapefruited first and who shot Gilbert Grape, I guess. This is the Bachelor Pad Radio YouTube. That was the greatest thing I've ever seen. That made me happy. I've never watched the tutorial, so that was interesting.
Happy at night now. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Jake Podcast, JakePodcast.com.